Hi everyone, it's Des here. Hope everyone's okay. Thursday thoughts today. Hopefully you're enjoying what we're doing. I did promise that if you sent me some questions, I'd look to answer them, offer my thoughts and opinions. Obviously, it's not the be all and end all what I've got to say, but if I can help in any way and use my experience and the work I do with people to help, then hopefully we can pass on a few ideas and a bit of motivation to get people sort of feeling good about themselves. A couple of things I'd like to mention today before we start. Of course, one of the biggest inspirations recently has been Colonel Tom, as he is now. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Tom. What a job he's done. Of course, Do Running's all about trying to help people and trying to do whatever we can. And look, we can only take inspiration from that guy. 100 years old, he's walking around the garden, he's not sat back feeling sorry for himself, what he can and can't do. I'm sure at that age, at any age, it'd be easy for people to feel sorry for themselves in this situation. At that age, it'd be easy just to lock yourself up, lock yourself away, but he's not done that. I think he's 20 million now, isn't it? So what phenomenal effort that is, and once again, something we can only aspire to be as somebody who wants to do these kind of things. What an example that is. So happy birthday, Tom. Also, a couple of things I picked up from social media today. I saw a tweet. It really struck me. Thanks to Dan and Kay for retweeting it. Basically, it was a little caption of a cartoon character asking another one about what they're doing in 2020, and this was supposed to be our year, and basically somebody feeling sorry for themselves, and the other character answered that he's planting some flowers, and then he gets asked why, and he says to watch them grow. And I think that really highlighted something to me, that now, more than ever, we're in our own destinies in our own hands. Do you know, things are changing rapidly, and right now we've got the opportunity to do things differently. Do you know, we've got a little bit more time. Do you know, we're able to plan things a little bit more. Do you know, it doesn't have to be a negative that we're not being told what to do, that we're not being dictated what to do. How many times have you gone to work and wish you could work at home, or you've been told to go for exercise, but you've been told not to go for exercise and you want to go for exercise, or vice versa, and all of a sudden we've got all these decisions to make ourselves, and people are stressing about it. It's a good thing. We can do it what we want. I'm sure some people have misunderstood me when I've said I'm actually really enjoying it. I've got a little bit more time to think what I'm doing. I've got a little bit more time for myself. I've realised that again, that if with this time I've got the chance to do things I want to do, you know, not what somebody else sort of dictates to me. Of course, I want to share time with friends. I want to see my family, but right now it's about taking the positives, and the positives are that we can choose to do things. There's lots going on out there. There's lots of activity. Yes, there's cancelled events and there's cancelled theatre shows and football matches, but there's lots to do and lots to keep us entertained. And to be honest, at little effort, of course, I'm keen on getting people sort of active and keeping them sort of fit and healthy. But again, that can be done in your time, and at other times when you want to rest and relax. I watch stuff on the internet I've never watched in my life. I watch dance shows, I watch music shows, I watch comedy. These things I just never have the time to do. I barely have the time to go out for my own run around all the running club activities. So right now it's such a bonus to have that, and sort of eliminate some of those things that you know you don't really want to do, but you do because you have to. So again, just make the most of your time. It's no good sat back and just waiting for this all to pass. There's nothing to wait for. keep going. We can still do the things we have to in life. It's so unfortunate that we can't see people, and in a world, what's better when people are together. Obviously, I run running groups and creating this kind of community. It's really sort of important to remember that we are in control of our own destiny. We are able to make decisions. So just please bear that in mind. Just like I say, something that sort of popped up, and it will relate into some of these questions. To be fair, I've been sent 5 questions. I've been sent more than 5 questions. I've condensed them down into 5, so I'm not on here too long. And hopefully, although they're running based, they will sort of, I will expand on them so they involve everyday life and might be relevant to yourself. They're running based because at the moment most of our community are runners or people who are into exercise. What we want to do, of course, is keep people active in a safe and healthy environment. Do you know, I've got a go already on today. Get out, get active. They're putting forward the Stay Safe, Stay Active campaign. So they want people to still be taking part, still be enjoying the benefits. And that's the word, isn't it? It's the benefits of activity that we really need to sort of drive home. I touched upon it a bit yesterday about the misconceptions out there about people exercising and people getting frustrated. I'll just reiterate that again, because part of some training I did at work today about PPE, I was given a bit of a scenario, I don't know how you put it, to be honest, but basically we was asked to look at the difference between Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock and the way they both had coronavirus. And this to me highlights why it's so important to get out there, running, walking, cycling, whatever you need to do, take on board. Matt Hancock's the health secretary who you can tell by his demeanour is a little bit frustrated at people's actions. But he's also the health secretary who's asking you to go out and do one piece of exercise, leave the house once a day to exercise. It's known that Matt Hancock's a runner. On the other hand, you've got Boris Johnson. In all honesty, I don't want to be too critical. It's not my political opinion, but he could be a little bit healthier. He could be a little bit fitter. The men of similar age, I was told today that this thing generally affects middle-aged men, which I was a little bit surprised by, but it does affect middle-aged men, and although there is a little bit of difference in their age, there's not a massive difference. So you've got one who's a runner, one who's healthy, who recovered in 7 days, and one who's only a few years older and not quite as fit, and look at the time it's taken him to recover, and he's just about getting back on his feet now. I think as I'm speaking, he's talking on the television, so you probably want to watch this anyway. But no, seriously, the point is they understand the importance of exercise. So I think everybody else should understand why we're allowed to do this and not be offended by doing it. Not let other people get to you. Just keep going, keep your head held high, and we'll get through this. And when we can all do what we want again, we'll all be happy. But anyway, on to these questions. The first one I got from quite a few people, to be honest. It was based around the coronavirus and the fact that people are now asking, how do they motivate themselves to go running alone or without groups? A lot of people, obviously in the Do Running community, really enjoy what we do. So they're finding it difficult to find that motivation to get up and get out. My sort of advice to that would be embrace online activity again. Stuff I've said, there's lots of running groups out there, not just what we're doing here. Embrace the activity that's being put across to you. Do you know, there's, whether it is actually physical activity or games or interactions, do you know, just embrace it. It's being done for a reason. It's not being done for anything other than to keep people smiling, keep people happy. You know, first thing is throw yourself into something. When I choose to listen to my dance music, listen to the radio, we get really involved you know, on a Saturday and what we're doing. We love doing it. You know, if you don't do that, if you're not going to embrace it to start with, then it's not going to be much fun. So it's worth just throwing yourself in. You've got the time now. I know people are busy, but there's always time if you want to do something. One thing we've done at Do Running is create these solidarity ones. I've spoken about these briefly already, but these are actually really good. So where we would normally run on a Tuesday or Wednesday or a Sunday morning, what I'm asking people to do, I'm posting up an event on the Facebook page, and I'm asking them to all run at the same time, all run in the same shirt, listen to the Do Running playlist, and just get involved in the group chats, get involved in the photos I'm asking people to take of themselves. And believe me, it's working. You know, a lot of people are feeling great around it. Some people go, oh, I'm going to run a bit before or a bit after. That's fine. I'm not going to discourage that whatsoever. But to feel like you're actually part of something, I've done it myself. You feel like you're part of something. It's really, again, embrace it, get involved, do it at the same time. Think about your friend who's running in their area or what they're doing, and it really works. It's really got people up and running. A couple of times we've had it, you know, we've had 20 odd people each time. So it's just key to embrace that kind of thing when it's offered to you, you know, and when people want to get involved. Again, it's a great motivator to get out there. If you know someone else is doing it, human nature makes you want to do something if you feel you can't. So that's probably my biggest tip and all that. And of course, there's always family and friends. You know, you can run with people. You can run with people you live with. Obviously, it is a maximum of 2, but a couple can run together. You can run with the kids. Your kid could be on the bike or such things. I've seen that happen quite a lot. So that's a way. One I recommend personally is to set challenges. You know, time and distance. Use Strava. Whether you did 5 miles last week, you might want to do 6 miles this week. Small challenges, small but achievable. Don't go setting ridiculous challenges. Myriad of problems sort of come up on the back of that. You might not achieve it, and then it might have the reverse effect. You might get injured. But small but achievable. Do you know, if you're just getting into activity, run to that first lamppost. The way I got into running, run to the first lamppost. Once I got there, I felt I'd achieved something. The next day, I had to get there and to the next lamppost, and that's how I built myself up over time. I had to start running alone, despite all the things I do today in terms of group and activity. My initial steps into running was running on my own. So it was those small challenges. You know, I found some determination to get up and do it even when I didn't want to. But it was just, for me, it was about beating my time, getting further. And it's that small challenge thing, and then rewarding yourself sometimes as well. I used to, at the time I was dieting, I used to reward myself with a couple of drinks at the weekend. And little things like that just tend to make it happen. And once you've done it so many times, it starts to become comfortable. What I'd also advise, if you're still struggling, is different routes in new places. Don't go out and keep handing out the same route. It gets a little bit boring. It gets a little bit tedious. You know how far you've done. You know how far it is to home. Go and find different things. Look at different things. Take lots of pictures. Always encouraging lots of pictures in the Do Running community and through the social media. So keep taking pictures. Keep sending them. As soon as you get a like, or 7 or 10 or however many you get, you feel good. Somebody else is sharing that sort of experience as well, and it makes you feel great. I make no bones about how good social media can be for picking somebody up. Let's use it in a positive way. So if that's what it takes, if somebody makes a comment, all well and good. Let's use it to its positive. Also, I touched on it before, the Do Running playlist. I keep pushing this. I am wanting to do a Do Daily playlist, so keep them songs coming, keep commenting. Got about 7 or 8 so far, so we're just about there to make a list. And podcasts, touched on this. Listen to things online, listen to different songs, listen to this, hopefully, whilst you're out running. So just taking your mind off the boredom and the tediousness it can be sometimes of the long miles. Just do what you can. You know, there's lots of ways to motivate yourself. But like I say, just in summary, and I'm going to create this on a Tuesday going forward. One of the big ones for me is the solidarity ones, arranging to run when other people are, and we can do that as a group. So if anybody's still struggling, please take that on board. But the small challenges and the different routes, it's all kind of there. Yes, it can still get hard to actually get up in the morning, but then that's down to determination as well, and willingness to take part. Just be positive about it. Set your kit out in the evening if you want to go in the morning, or leave your kit out for when you finish work. You know, reward yourself at the weekend, whatever it takes, to be honest. So hopefully that's given you a few ideas of how you can help yourself. Moving on to the next question. Thanks to Sally for this one. We've had a couple of people. Recently I've been doing lots of Couch to 5K training. The work I've done with Goga has mainly been around getting people from Couch to 5K. I started out there as a volunteer a couple of years ago, before Do Running even came along. So I've got a lot of experience in dealing with beginners and people who are starting out on the journey. So one of the big things is, one of the first targets for many runners is to be able to run 5K, which totally understandable. It makes it feel worthwhile. You know, it's 3 miles, it's 30 to 45 minutes sort of running time, so it's a real good effort, and it's no mean feat. 3 miles is a long way starting out. So well done to Sally, by the way, for the question. Obviously the first time she's run it non-stop, so well done for actually running it non-stop. And now what she's asking is how she can improve her speed. So basically, what I'd say to anybody once we've actually completed the Couch to 5K course is keep doing it. Do you know, if you run 5K 10 times, the same 5K, not that you should do it the same route every time, but if you ran the same 5K 10 times, I can assure you on the 10th time you will be quicker than the first one. Ask any sort of athlete out there how to get a PB on a 5K, any advice online, and the first thing that will always come back at you is run more 5Ks. So the point is, obviously, with being a sort of fairly newish to running, improvement's just going to happen naturally anyway. You need to build your strength. You know, a great way of doing that is hills or interval training. Of course, I would normally do these kind of sessions when we're not in the coronavirus, so look out for those when everything sort of gets back to normal. Park run is always a great way of measuring yourself. That's how I got into my 5 runs. My first park run, again, it doesn't necessarily matter about time, but my first park run was 35 minutes, and I think within a year I got it down to 23 minutes. So again, it's just without being a race, park run's a nice environment to test yourself. It is timed, it is free, you know, so it's the closest you'll get to a race day environment without actually having to fork out or without feeling the pressure of that. So park run's always a great one. I'm a big advocate for park run. So just to go back to when I was running, I started park run, and that was my only run at first. Once I got up to that distance, started running once a week at park run, and even just that once, I was running it quicker and quicker. So, like I say, if you want to improve your time, just run it more often. Keep doing them. Keep doing it non-stop. Put some hills in. It's all about strength. Even for experienced runners, a lot of people start out running flat routes. So you put those hills in. It might be a bit of a drag to start with. It might be tough. It might be difficult for you to complete. But believe me, if you can complete a hilly, tough 5K, once you get on a flat park run or flat route, you'll be smashing it before you know it. And again, that brings confidence. It makes you it leads on to other things. I'm sure in time you'll hear about bits and bobs of my journey where this has taken place. But yeah, that's what I'm suggesting on that one. Sorry, somebody's just come to the door. It's just distracted me. The joys of working from home, eh? Right. Next question. I'm really glad I got this question because, to be honest, I've had to do a little bit of research and look into this one myself. So basically, how far somebody's asking for a friend, how far should a 10-year-old run? I didn't know the answer. Like I said, I had to look this one up, but I'm really glad I did. So the first thing to talk about when we're discussing children and running and activity, of course, it's got to be fun. It's got to be fun and inclusive. You know, there's no point making it hard work straight away. You've got to make sure the children wants to do it or they want to take part. It's a great time at the moment, to be honest, because obviously families are spending a lot of time together. The kids and adults and parents, sorry, they're all they're forced to stay together at the moment. But that's what kids want. They want that familiarity. They want to do things with the parents. They want to feel part of something. I read something today about they want to feel like young adults, even from an early age. So if they can do stuff with the parents, they're likely to take that on and enjoy it and get more from it. Which is obviously it's a really good thing to get children into activity as well. So looking at the actual distance children should run, I came up with some interesting facts on that. Basically, what the information is suggesting, and the reason it suggests this, before I tell you the numbers, is the reason children can't run as far as adults, and they're recommended not to. Obviously, it's all about getting people in and building them up slowly, whether you're an adult or child. But it's about not doing too much too soon. But there are some guidelines around what children are recommended to run, and the reason that is because I didn't know this, and it's really interesting that the reason a child's face will go particularly red from the outset is because they don't sweat like adults do. The sweat glands don't work in the same way, so that's why they overheat. Sorry, not overeat. That's the point. They overheat quicker than adults, and that's why the distance needs to be maintained. So basically, the question Dawn asked us, it was, how far should a 10-year-old run? The guidelines is a child from 9 to 11 should be 3.2 miles, which is obviously just over 5k. And thinking about that in terms of how could we relate that into an event or a run, that's a park run a week. So for concerted effort, what's been suggested is no more than a park run. And what a way to get children into it as well in normal times. Of course, we can't do that right now, but in normal times, what a way to get kids involved. You know, take them along to the park run, get them involved in that community. Everybody gets something from it. As they get a little bit older, 12 to 14 is 6.4 miles, so roughly a 10k. And they should really, until a child's 15, they shouldn't really be considering a half marathon. Obviously, everybody sort of develops at a different rate and a different pace, so there's no set guidelines for that, but they're just the recommendations. So yeah, in answer to Dawn's question, you're probably looking at a park run. I did a little bit more research into that, and to see how many miles they should run over a certain period. So, and basically what the answers were to that was if you run a park run as a 10-year-old, because that's what the suggestion is, that child, that person should run no more than double that per week. So they shouldn't be running more than 6.4 miles. And obviously as the ages go up, the 12 to 14s at 6.4 should be running no more than 12.8. And then the 15-year-old should be running no more than sort of 30 miles a week. And that's because, again, it's because of these sort of sweat gland and overheating sort of issues that children experience that adults don't. So basically, for a 10-year-old, if you want them to exercise 3 times a week, you're looking at a park run or a 5k, and then perhaps 2 two sort of 2.5k runs, 1.6 miles, sort of. That sounds reasonable, and those efforts don't have to be full on. So if they're really pushing themselves at park run, I know some friends' children who do really put it in at park run. The other efforts shouldn't quite be as strenuous. They should be used like training runs for adults and perhaps run at almost 80% and not blitzing it all the time, so to speak. So yeah, there's lots of information on that online. So if you want to sort of check that out, please do. I did see as well, anybody locally in Nottingham, an organisation called Active Knots. They have a weekly homeschooling resource, which is basically a plan to keep children active around sort of schoolwork. And I think the theme this week is golf, so they're using sort of golf to sort of add up and things like that. I'm not quite sure of that, but it might be worth checking out. I will post this in the comments, the link to Active Knots. If anybody's got children and wants to check that out, please do. There's some really good information on there, and I know these guys work with Get Out, Get Active as well. So some good people there who do that. So check that out. Moving on. Of course, with the coronavirus, we've seen the loss of several big events that were due to take place. It's unfortunate. It's disappointing. What I will say is, please try and focus on the here and now. There's much bigger things than this, to worry about. It is unfortunate. We all look forward to these. Obviously, last weekend was the London Marathon. That's the one so many people are disappointed about. And I totally understand the frustration. We seem to have nothing in the diary all of a sudden, as runners tend to have so much in the diary. But stick with it. These things will come up. I was thinking today, it was supposed to be the 40th anniversary of the London Marathon. It will still be the 40th time it's run, no matter when it is. So if it's not till next year, it's not till next year. And the question I got asked basically was, how can I train for an event that possibly won't take place? Well, for me, you've got two choices, and I don't want to be as simple as black and white, because it's definitely not that when you've got something sort of hanging over you and not everybody wants to make a decision there and then. But you've got two choices, particularly with something like London. London have rearranged for October, but they did give people the option to sort of do it in April. Personally, I would have gone for the April option, because you've just gone through all that marathon training, you've got to the end of it, you won't be able to maintain that all the way up until October from this point, or beyond, should it get cancelled. So what I would do if I'd been rearranged for October and that was my only choice, I'd probably restart my training plan. Take all my running back. You've got that base level of fitness, so going forward, it might feel easy at the moment. It might feel like you've missed out on something, but take it back to the start of the program you're using, or your own program, and just build up gradually again for October. The reason I said I wouldn't have done it until April, given the choice, is purely because I wouldn't want to do a rushed event. I wouldn't want to do it where they're trying to get several events in over several weeks. I know already that people are getting lots of runners sign up to lots of events, and they've already got full weeks blocked out in October or beyond or whatever. So I would have done it when I could enjoy it the most. But also the fact that I would have been able to reset if I'd have chose to do it next April. I read something a long time ago that the reason Olympic athletes, you'll hear things like, that's the season's best, they will do better. And you think, well, why haven't they run 100 metres as fast as they can? And the point is, an athlete can only peak for 6 months. A human being can only peak in terms of physical performance for a period of 6 months. So if you peak now for London, by time it comes around, you're going to be coming back down. So the point is, bring your training back in, rein it back in, perhaps add some core training, some strength work, upper body strength is obviously key. A lot of us runners, a little bit naughtily so, we tend to miss it out because we love pounding the pavements as much as anything. But I wouldn't advise that. Core work is good, and obviously to maintain fitness. I'm injured, and I'd love to be able to go to the gym, or I've had some equipment available. I can't, and it's really affecting my fitness when I can get out for a run. So it's important to keep that base level, rein your training back in, look to build again. If it doesn't take place, don't let that define you. Just do it again. At the end of the day, running's not been cancelled. Lots of us run for the love of it, So, and if you're prepared when it comes around next time, just by falling in love with the whole thing all over again, if you're prepared, you'll be happy. If you're happy, you'll perform and you'll get the results. That's what I'd say on that. You are in control. I've been saying this throughout this video, not just of running. You're in control of your own destiny with all this. I've started this week because now I've been given an opportunity. The reality is it's something that's been in my mind. Would I have done this? So create a new plan. I've been talking lots and lots about planning. Just create a new plan, stick to it. Don't be distracted by what might or might not happen. You've also got a choice. You don't have to do these events going forward. Yes, they're epic, they're amazing when they happen, but at the end of the day, it's a choice. So make the right choice, whatever's for you. If an event's going to be too much, if it's going to stress you out, worrying about it, then maybe cancel it, maybe postpone it, or just stick with it and enjoy the running. That's my advice on that one. I don't want to come across as harsh on that, but the realities of the situation right now is none of us really know what's going to happen. So we can only, if you're going to stick to a plan, you have to stick to it, because how long's a piece of string, and it's that difficulty. Sorry. Moving on to the next question. How can I balance training for a big event against doing too much and potentially getting injured? Again, it kind of follows on nicely from the last question, to be honest. Core and strength work is obviously a great way to sort of build strength. I've had a message today in one of the WhatsApp groups. A lady who's building up running has been asking about shin splints and has she got shin splints, or has she got this, so her legs are aching. What I will say, and I'm no medical expert, I'm the first to sort of admit that injuries are not my strong point, but I do know a little bit through what I've done. Working with lots of beginners, this is the common complaint in them all, and sometimes it's just a case of building strength. Your legs, most of us when we start out, our legs are a bit sort of thin and spindly and there's not much muscle in them. So what we need to do is build that strength, and once you start building, you get those pains. So what's the most important thing in that is to rest, and recover. I've created a couple of training plans recently for an absolute beginners to do an online couch to 5k, and then for a group that's progressed to 5k to do a half marathon. And what I've recommended in there, which all training plans will consist of, is rest and recovery. And also on the off days, walk to work maybe. Your legs might ache a bit, but walk to work or walk up the stairs or add a few hills into your running. It's hard work, but it's all about replacing those tissues and getting back to where you need to be for your next run. Of course, one of the key rules is in anybody who's starting to run, anybody who's taking up activity, I'm sure it applies to running and cycling, don't build up, although I'm not entirely sure, don't build up at more than 10% per week. So if you did 10 miles this week, don't do more than 11 miles next week. This is a common known sort of way to try and reduce injury from building up the mileage. Of course, running is hard work, exercise is hard work, it's difficult, so it's important to sort of not build up too quickly, understand your limitations, and like I say, plenty of rest and recovery, plenty of fluids as well. after you've been running to rehydrate. That helps with recovery. Again, I can be a little bit guilty of that, you know, and it's something I'm conscious of, and more so now when I've got a little bit more time to think. So again, what I'm trying to say with that last comment is basically use this time to iron out some of those things you know you're not quite doing right. And if we all come out of it a better person in the way we look after ourselves, I think ultimately it's going to be better all around for everybody. Of course, last point on that one, sort of how can I balance training for big events against potentially getting injured? Use online training plans. Do you know there's lots out there? Speak to people, listen to people. Sometimes we're all a bit sort of, we know best. We'll go out there and we'll run what we want, and run when we want. I have been a little bit guilty of that in the past myself. Do you know, I tend to run on feeling and whatever. It works for me, to be honest. But I know lots of people need a training plan. You know, and that training plan a good training plan, will always include plenty of time for rest and recovery. And of course, prior to the event taking place, it's important to have that short period before of just coming back down to sort of coming back down to rest and recover and sort of prepare yourself for the event. What I always say on that as well, particularly on race day, and this is a really key point for me, is be prepared. So all this worry about not events getting cancelled, being ready, but it's being cancelled. If you're ready when it next comes around, the more prepared you feel going into race day, whether it's that and kit's ready and the right accommodation or getting there on time. If you get there with stress about not doing enough or having done too much or little injuries, it gets into the back of your mind and it affects you on the day. So the best thing you can do is plan, keep planning it. I know the question was asked about if events don't take place. Well, that's a decision we have to sort of balance up now, whether we really want to do it. So yeah, that's my advice on that. Thank you for those questions. Hopefully they've been of some help. There's lots more I could get into that, but I've noticed this is quite a considerable length of time already, but that's what it's like when you get me running, I'm afraid. Talking about running, sorry. So thanks for that. Make comments if anybody's got anything to add. Hopefully I've not said anything out of place. I'm sure I'll get picked up if I will. I'll be back in the morning. I'm looking to get out. One of my targets is to get up early on a Friday so I can get some content ready for you guys so we can attack the weekend and make some plans and perhaps look to add a challenge or two in. You know, if people can get involved in that, again, it's all part of feeling part of something. Just like I mentioned about the running on your own. If you're involved in a little online challenge, it might just be the motivation to keep you going. So I'll give that a bit of thought overnight. I'll be up early. I don't like getting up early, but I'll be here 7 o'clock in the morning, just doing it. Thanks, guys.